This is the year you take control of your time. Here's the truth. Time management isn't about doing more. It's about making space for what you actually want. And if you've been procrastinating for years, I got you. Hi, and welcome back to Dina's Journal podcast, episode 4. And this is a weekly podcast where we talk about anything and everything. By the end of this episode, first, you'll know exactly where your time is going, how to fit in healthy habits, and I'll walk you through my 5 shifts that will help you stop wasting time and feel more in control of your week. So stay with me. Let's get into it. For a long time, I thought I had a discipline problem, and I kept telling myself, you're bad with time. I'm bad with time. I can't manage a lot of my projects, a lot of my work, a lot of my school. And honestly, that story just made me feel worse, right? And it made me guilty and overwhelmed and stressed. And I felt like I couldn't get things done on time. And then whenever I had time, I felt like doing other things and not the things that I wanted to prioritize. And then that turned into procrastinating, right? That was the system, and that is the system, and this is something I'm still struggling with. But the truth is, I don't need to be a different person, right? I needed to have a different system. I needed to tell myself a different story. So honestly, when time feels out of control, the first things that start disappearing, the first things that we don't prioritize are the things that help us take care of ourselves. So think about that. Things like going to the gym, preparing good food, healthy meals, getting a good night's sleep, anything that makes us feel like ourselves again. Those are the things that we lose control of first. And, I was like, okay, why do we do those things? I wanted to do some research and dig a little deeper. So I actually was listening to this conversation from another podcast, probably you've heard it, the Mel Robbins podcast. And she sat down with an expert, a time management expert, Laura Vanderkam. And they basically said, the narrative you have about your time shapes how you experience your time, right? So let's break that down. Let's say your story is, my life is just what I have to do. I have things I have to do. I have errands. I have responsibilities. But you making that story make you feel powerless. You feel powerless. But if your story becomes, I have a lot of things to do. I have a lot of responsibilities, but I still can choose what to do. So when that becomes your story, I have a lot going on and I still have choices that I can make. I still have that power. You start feeling calmer and you start acting differently because you are finally in control, right? And what I loved about this conversation is it's not pretending you're not busy. It's noticing that your brain looks for evidence for whatever story you're telling your brain. So if your story is, I have no time, then you'll notice the stress, the pressure, the feeling that you're behind, that you're not doing enough. But if your story changes and it becomes, I have some time and I can choose how to use my time, you start noticing those little pockets of time that you didn't notice before. And this is exactly why this matters, because so many people say, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to cook every meal or prep every meal. I don't have time, to go outside and take a walk. I have too many things to do. And, sometimes life is intense, but a lot of the time it's not that your health doesn't matter or you don't want to prioritize it. It's that your health has no protection, no system, no plan. And if you're trying to work on your health or yourself only when you have time or extra time, it will almost never happen, right? And James Clear, one of my favorite authors on self-help, actually said this, And he had the idea that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, right? So, and the takeaway is simple here. If your plan for working out is, okay, I'll do it whenever I feel like it, like if I am less tired one day, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to cook those meals, or I'm going to prep, or whatnot. But then you're depending on your motivation for that day, for that week, for that month. And let's be honest, motivation is not reliable, right? But if you plan a system, something that makes the right choice easier, then your consistency will get easier. Because wellness doesn't need more motivation. It needs less friction. It needs us to make it easier to ourselves so we can continue to be consistent with our goals. And I'm picking wellness, but that has to do with everything in life, right? Everything that you plan your life around, everything that you do, if you make it easier for yourself, you're going to continue finishing or you're going to accomplish your goals. In a minute, I will also share the system that I use to change my schedule, because I started realizing, when I was doing this research and over the years, as I'm getting more responsibilities, as I'm getting more things that kind of fill up my life, I was starting to realize I'm not really lazy. I was just guessing. I didn't have a system. I didn't have a plan. And part of that, going back to the conversation with Mel Robbins and Laura, they also got into this idea that it's good to think about numbers, right? So let's go back to time, and think about practical shifts. Okay, so think about the week. A week has 168 hours. If you use, let's say you sleep for 8 hours and, you work a 40-hour week, and assuming like some other like hours during the week that, kind of go to commute or whatnot, you are left with approximately 72 hours. Those are your hours to use. And I'm not saying that everybody has 72 hours, right? This will look different for everybody. But when you start putting those numbers, visualize those numbers or think about those numbers, it starts shifting your story. It shifts your story from I have no time to I don't have enough time for everything, so let me choose. Let me prioritize. When we feel like we have a choice, or when we feel like we have better choices, we feel like we're in control of our time. So procrastination loses its power. If story matters and system matters and plans matter, here's how we make it more practical. So this is that part of the podcast where I want to walk you through my 5 shifts that, with my research and, listening to other podcasts, I've kind of put these together for you and for myself. I'm so curious to see if it works for other people, because it really worked for me. And they're just real and they're attainable and they're easy to follow. And the first shift that I wanted to talk to you about is foundation. If you do nothing else, if you don't do the other 4 shifts, at least try this one. And this really helped me out and made things easier for me. The first shift is make your time visible. Okay, let's break it down. What do I mean about that? So try to track your time for 3 days, okay? That's it. Just 3 days. No, it's not perfect. Try not to judge yourself or judge your time. Just be aware. Make your time visible. And what do I mean about that? And why do I believe this so much? Because I tried it. As I mentioned before in this podcast, I had a corporate job, and it was a very demanding job, very high stakes. And I started realizing is I constantly felt behind because I would focus on a project, right? And because of that, I would spend too much time on a project, and then I would feel like, oh, like, where did my time go? I would work late sometimes, or the commute was so long, or there were like so many factors kind of embedded in this job. And I started realizing that I was losing time on my other things, other projects, life in general. And suddenly there was just no time left for anything else. And even though I felt like I was working hard, I also felt that I was failing on a lot of things. So what did I do? Okay, and honestly, like, I wanted to figure out where I saw this at the time, right? And it must have been in the James Clear book, and I couldn't get back to it, but I started blocking my entire day on my calendar. If you have like a physical calendar or one on your computer, I prefer the digital one. But I started putting everything down, not just meetings, not just work stuff, everything. Work blocks, lunch, errands, whenever I went for a walk, whenever I wanted to decompress, the gym, meal prepping, like everything for those 3 first days. And you know what happened is I could actually finally see how my week looked like, or those first 3 days. Because if you don't track your time, your brain will just guess, right? If we don't make it easier for ourselves, we would rely on motivation. And like we said, motivation is not reliable, right? So what I noticed was I had these little leaks, these little tiny pockets where time just disappeared. So do this for me for a second, okay? Think about yesterday or the weekend. What did you lose 30 minutes without meaning to do it, right? Where did you lose those 30 minutes without meaning to do it? Maybe you'll find that one spot. That's the pocket. That's the time leak that you experience. So I didn't necessarily find more time when I did this, but I found out where my time was leaking. And that's the secret. Because then I realized, like, oh, like, I stopped myself when I saw that time leaking. So let's think about the next shift. Now, here's a sentence that I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, the one that quietly steals your power, your control, right? I don't have time. Let's think about that. Let's try swapping it, right? Instead of saying that, I don't have time, let's say, that's not my priority right now. Or I'm choosing to do something else today. Now, this is not to shame you or make you feel bad. It's to make you honest with yourself and give you that control back. Because when I say I don't have time for this, I'm so busy, that honestly to me feels more stressful than anything. When I say I'm choosing, that feels like agency, feels like I have control. So let's go back to the workouts, right? Let's go back to the things that always get pushed away. So instead of saying like, I'll work out this week whenever I feel like it, choose a time and stand by it. Let's say Tuesday, 6 p.m., 30 minutes, I'm going to the gym. Put it in your calendar, block it on your calendar. And guess what? You're going to stay consistent to that. Because deciding in real time is so exhausting, but because your brain will pick whatever is the easiest option. But if you're thinking, oh, Dina, this is all great, but I'm too busy. I have a family, I have 2 jobs, I have responsibilities. I get it. Everyone is busy, everyone is stressed, everyone is tired, right? But this is exactly for busy people, because we're not adding more time, we're removing that friction, right? And the next shift is the easiest way to get your energy back. So let's get into that. Let's say you're going to bed and you're staying up late scrolling. You wake up tired. Then when you wake up tired, your workouts feel harder. Your time at work feel like, you're just pushing through it. You don't want to really cook, so you order in. Your brain craves that little dopamine moment, right? So let's talk about the bedtime, because bedtime, the bedtime routine, the nighttime routine, it's not about just sleep. It's a time management tool, and this is important. Your nighttime choices decide your morning discipline. So here's where I want to talk to you about your environment and how you design your environment, right? And this is going back to James Clear. He said, make good habits easier, make the time wasters harder, right? And we talked about this a little bit. And this is very simple, right? Charge your phone, and I'm talking about mainly your nighttime routine, right? Charge your phone away from your bed, so you're not defaulting to doom scrolling or late scrolling at night. If you plan to go to the gym the next day in the morning, lay out your clothes, make them ready. So you just pick them up, wear them, and go. Make your water bottle ready, make your coffee ready, make your breakfast accessible, make it easy so you get that first morning breakfast. Maybe spend 2 minutes in bed writing down your priorities for tomorrow. If you're having a hard time falling asleep, maybe just keep a book near you so that you don't default to your phone again. Make the good choice, make it easy, make it an easy choice, right? But here's the thing that stops you from constantly trying to catch up, right? And this is the fourth shift. Plan once a week, okay? This isn't the perfect schedule, right? And if you know me, I love a schedule, but just put down anchors. And I started doing this also in my corporate job because I always hated Mondays. I would come in and I would say, I don't want to deal with this. I just had a great weekend, or I had a relaxing weekend. I don't want to get back into the groove, right? I hated Mondays, and I hated to think about all the things that I had to do. So what I did is I picked a day of my week, usually a Friday afternoon. I sat down and I put things on my calendar that I wanted to do for the week. Just like we mentioned in the beginning, but this was different because I wanted to make the next week feel less stress, less regretful, less time spent on things that I didn't like to spend on, right? So I asked myself, what must happen next week? What do I want to happen next week? And where does it fit in my schedule? Put your workouts out in your calendar, and for food, and if you want to put your food schedule in when, and the reason why you do that too is you don't decide in real time. You don't come in Monday and make those bad choices, right? Because we all dread Mondays. Instead, you make it easier for yourself so that you don't have to decide at the moment. You already decided previously, right? And if it's not scheduled, is not protected, you don't have control, you don't have that power to choose, right? We talked about, and these like kind of all connect together and together. And this is why I love these shifts, because they're kind of blend together, and it's great, and it works so well for me. And I want to bring you to my final shift. And this is something that people don't really think about and actually skip from time to time, then wonder, oh, why do I still keep procrastinating, right? And here's where it stands. You need joy. You need to do one thing that's effortful, fun, right? Because if you only think about your life as obligations and responsibilities and stress, your brain will start rebelling and will start to look for things to make it more fun. And then that's when procrastination becomes your escape, right? Because a life with no joy will create procrastination. So schedule one thing that makes you feel like you again in your schedule or in your week, because it will make everything else easier. For me, Like that is like going for a walk with my dog, or spending some time making videos and cooking and showing those videos and editing, and also like, talking to a friend, like anything that feels like, spend that time, spend that hour, 30 minutes, do something fun. You will not regret it, right? And before I end this episode, I would love for you, my listeners, and for those who are watching, to try this for 7 days. I'd love to see if it works for other people, right? Because I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just showing you things, or I'm just helping you realize some things that everybody does, right? Or that other people have figured out. So track your time for 3 days. Swap the sentence from I don't have time to I have some time that I can choose how to use and I am in control. Pick a bedtime you can keep most nights and be consistent and know your environment. Schedule 2 small workouts. In other words, plan ahead. And plan an effortful, fun thing. Plan something that brings you joy. 5 things. Because you don't need to become a new person. You don't need a new personality. You just need a kinder and better system for yourself. I want to know, and maybe this is the prompt of the week, what's your biggest time leak right now? If you do that 3-day challenge, where do you notice that you're losing time, right? Is it scrolling? Is it being perfect, trying to finish every project, every detail? Is it that you're, having late nights and you can't get to bed on time and you wake up tired? What is it? Put it in the chats. And with that, thank you for joining me in another episode of Dina's Journal. And thank you for hanging out with me. This is great. If you want more content, please follow and subscribe and like this video and share it. Share it with someone that is struggling with time management, or if you want to talk about time management with someone, or you want to talk about those 5 shifts that you tried them or you want to try them, share this video. It really does help. And also, if you have a favorite topic that you want to talk about, put it in the comments below. DM me, chat with me. I am open to chat. I'm open to know what you guys think. And also rate this podcast. Let me know if I should keep making stuff like this, or should I shift it? Should I do something else? Any topics that you feel very passionate about, I'm happy to explore. And as always, I'm also on all your social platforms at Dina's_journal, and I am happy to welcome you as well. If you want to follow my video recipes, I try to create really fun and easy ones as well. So I'd love to continue hanging out with you guys. Cheers. Bye. Okay. We are on episode 2. Episode 4.